Welcome, friends! Come along with me today as I show my digital drawing process. I'll be drawing a surprised goldfish today, who is also rather lonely and looking to make a new friend. This idea is for my spring inspiration list. Check down in the whatchamacallit box below for how you can get your own copy of the list. And here's a shortcut. Just let me know you want it via comment or message, and I'll get it right to you. Also, could you please take a moment to hit that notification button, and ring the bell to satisfy the algorithm's enormous appetite? Try saying that 10 times fast. Alright, let's dive in. I always start my drawings by gathering references. A couple months ago, this would consist of me finding a reference that I was looking to copy fairly closely. I wasn't confident in my ability to use multiple references to draw something, and felt somewhat constrained by my ability to find the perfect image. As I've been studying anatomy and just practicing drawing in general, I'm excited to see my confidence grow, and I'm learning how to stray farther and farther from references. I'm looking forward to the day when I can confidently use references just to guide the inspiration in my head, rather than being more closely tied to them. Pinterest is still my favorite place to find references, although more and more I'm finding it flooded with repetitive AI images. I think ethical use of AI can be beneficial, but there is a lot of unethical or misleading use of it right now, but that's a discussion for another time. In any case, I find so much more life in human-drawn artwork and much prefer using those for my inspiration. When I'm looking for a reference, different things will stand out to me. Maybe it's the subject matter or the emotion displayed, maybe a fascinating use of texture or color, or sometimes just a feeling the piece gives me that I want to try to incorporate into my own work. I found it particularly helpful lately to do a couple rough sketches based off of my various gathered references to help me get a feel for my subject matter. This is especially helpful when I'm drawing something I haven't attempted before or I'm less familiar with. For example, I haven't drawn fish before. I found some references that were cute and showed the emotion I wanted to convey, i.e. surprise. Then I started sketching fish from my references. I drew fish in 3/4 view, head-on, sideways, etc. I quickly got confused about all of the different fins. If I had had the time, it would have been even more helpful to find some photos of real fish, rather than just other artists' renditions of fish. I could have really dove into studying fish in general and goldfish in particular. And can I say fish one more time? Fish, 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 fish. Okay, that's enough for now, Priscilla. My goal for this little sketch was to work on emotion and not necessarily learn the detailed anatomy of fish. Would it have helped my drawing exponentially to study photos? Yes, undoubtedly. And in light of that, as soon as you begin to understand how to break subjects down into boxes and shapes in 3D, I strongly urge you whenever possible to study real life. If not in person, then at least study videos and photos. Even if it's a short drawing study, that bit of knowledge you gain from exploring how something truly works will give you so much more freedom to orient, characterize, and draw your subjects how you imagine them. So back to my fish. After drawing this surprised fish, I realized that the drawing was incomplete in a rather significant way. What was the fish surprised about, anyway? Was he about to get a present? Was the owner bringing him food? Did he just see a girl fish swim by? Or could it be that the fish was about to meet his first cat? Ah, yes, there it was. I feel like a large, smiling cat might surprise a fish, right? Now, I should have planned out my complete drawing a little better ahead of time because I came to a problem here. The fish was facing the front, and how was I going to add in a cat for the fish to be looking at? I decided to try to clue in my viewers with an attempt at doing a cat face reflection on the fishbowl. This was way outside of my skill level. Glass is difficult to understand with the way it handles light. Water certainly doesn't make it any easier. But rather than starting my project over with the fish looking to the side or somehow showing a hint of a cat somewhere, I decided to just run with what I had, partly because I loved my forward-facing goldfish and his cute, rather startled expression. Side note, at first I was going to give him diving goggles because I thought it would be hilarious for a fish to be wearing goggles. This is how my brain works, no apologies. But I realized adding another bit of glass and reflection into this drawing that was already way over my head would complicate things even further, so I decided to leave the goggles for another time. After gathering references and doing a few quick sketches to become familiar with my subject matter, the third step of my drawing process is to begin the final sketch and work out the composition and details precisely. Here you can see that I have the general idea for my fishbowl down, and I'm working on the placement for the fish and the cat's expression. Once I have the general rough sketch completed, and I'm happy with the placement of all the elements, it's time for my final sketch and line art. Some people leave the final line art till near the end of their project, but I like to do my line art at this stage. Oh, and line art refers to the finished, perfect lines that will be present in the completed piece. Some people even avoid line art altogether, but I found that I like how it gives some cleanness and containment to my shapes. The fourth step is for me to lay down my flats. Flats refers to laying down base colors for all the different shapes in my composition. So I lay down the blue for the water in the fishbowl, which isn't entirely accurate because after all, water is clear, but it works here for now. And then I move on to coloring in my goldfish. Generally, laying down my flats goes pretty quickly. I usually have an idea already for what colors I'm thinking, and I can just paint them in. However, there are times when I'm not super confident about what colors I want, and this is where coloring artwork digitally in Procreate is a lifesaver. Because once I lay down the blocks of color, I can easily change the colors back and forth with just a quick tap on my pencil. This lets me experiment with colors I wouldn't normally be able to try without having to fully commit. I love digital art. After my flats, I begin experimenting with textures and some general shading. As you can see here, I've already added textures to my goldfish. I have a variety of digital brushes that give a wide range of textures to paint onto my work. I love experimenting here and trying to find fun and organic textures to really give the piece character. I really struggled with texturing the water in the bowl, as basically it all comes down to light and shadow since water itself is clear. Plus, I had the reflection of the cat I needed to somehow convey. Again, I was way outside of my skill level here, coloring and texturing the water in glass fishbowl. But I will say that I had a lot of fun, and it really opened my eyes to the wonders of light in glass and water. At this point, my head was spinning and I was just barely managing to stay afloat in this process. As I'm nearing finishing up, I start onto my last 3 steps. First, I generally start adding in more specific shadows and highlights. These aren't just fluctuations or variations in color, but specific shadows and highlights. I add shadows in the goldfish's eyes, around his body where the fins connect, and anywhere else that there might be a little bit of overlap. Second to last, I finish everything up with a few extra touches. I use a digital glow pen on the goldfish's eyes to really highlight them, and I add a few more highlights to the fishbowl itself. These are somewhat non-realistic and cartoony, but they add a fun touch. The last thing I do is add text. This is something new I just started. So to finish everything up here, I add friend. I hope you enjoyed following along today as I drew this fish. If you did, could you hit that like button before you leave? Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and as always, friends, keep drawing.